AskReddit by Random Joe Schmo. What is the greatest comeback to insult you've ever heard? My best friend. After an argument with some kid from our school in a shop, we began walking away down the street. Kid, where you going, pussy? Friend, your mom's house. Kid, my mom lives the other way, idiot. Friend, nah, I meant your real mom. 80,000 IQ. Air traffic control doing a poor job of vectoring an Airbus A330 in full landing. Pilot, you've left us too high. I don't think we can make the approach. ATC, you've got speed brakes on that thing, don't you? Pilot, after a noticeable pause, yes, but those are for my mistakes, not yours. A friend in high school on our way to a track meet. He was staring at a car in the parking that was really nice. When this bag saw him. Bag, why bothering looking at that when you know you'll never be able to get one? My friend, the same reason you watch porn. The entire bus erupted and it's still one of the funniest things I've ever heard. Deleted. A dude in my class called out a semi-friend of mine that people are talking behind his back. In fact, that wasn't the case, as far as I know, and that guy said, well, you know what they say about you? Nothing, nobody fucking cares. Deleted. So there was two girls fighting and one of them sacked my sister who was minding her own business and says, you go to hell too. My sister, do you want me to say anything to your mom? My sister started saying go to hell as a moody, often rude, teenager. She is a couple of years older than me. One day she said it to me after she'd been chastised by our dad for something she had done. I usually shrugged off her insults because they were meaningless. This day, however, I retorted, why would I go anywhere you are? I'm still pleased at my 13-year-old brain for that one. I do remember her slamming her bedroom door as her comeback. It's gotta be the aliens locker room scene for me. Hudson, hey Vasquez, have you ever been mistaken for a man? Vasquez, no, have you? Edit, brain dirt with the film title. That's what immediately came to my mind as well. English class in middle school. Kid A yo, Kid B, your mama waited on me at McDonald's last night. Must feel like shit having a mom that works at McDonald's. Kid B, at least my mom gets out of bed to go to work. English teacher far louder than he realized. The rest of us were laughing so hard, the teacher next door popped her head in to see what was going on. I love it when the entire class laughs enough to bother the teacher next door. Context: John Oliver from HBO interviews Stephen Hawking, may he rest in peace. J.O., and there may be a universe where I am more intelligent than you? There may even be a universe where you are funny. I lost count of how many times I've seen that video and it still makes me laugh. The whole interview is just hilarious. Overheard by me, the school bus driver, one 5th grade student was belittling a 1st grader. When it was time for a comeback, 1st grader shouts out, congratulations. The bewildered 5th grader had nothing to say and went to sit down with her friends in the back of the bus. Okay, that's kind of fucking adorable. Joe Pine interviewing Frank Zappa. Joe, I guess your long hair makes you a woman. FZ, I guess your wooden leg makes you a table. How does a dude named Pine have a wooden leg? What if it's mahogany or oak? Many years ago, when we were about 18, a friend of mine was arguing with another person we knew. This person was trying to be a badass and intimidate my buddy. He says my feet are registered. Without missing a beat, my friend replies, where? Health and amp, sanitation. 40 years later I still crack up at this when it comes to mind. What does my feet are registered mean? A guy makes fun of his bald friend by rubbing his head and saying, "Wow, your head is as smooth as my wife's bottom." The friend also rubs his head and says, "Wow, you're right." That had to hurt. I asked my mother why she always wears makeup despite being in her 40s. She told me she wears makeup so she doesn't look like me. Edit. I was 9. Savage. Someone yelled out in a Walmart, "I'm not ashamed of who I am." Another voice echoed back, "That's your parents' job." Deleted. I used to work with this like 70-year-old woman. She was our supervisor, and one day one of the ladies who worked with us told this old lady to kiss my ass, and the old lady replied, "Where do I start? You're so fat your crack goes all the way up your back." Gran, how many times do we have to tell you? We are not a crematorium. During WW1, Switzerland had a tiny standing army, but they were very skilled marksmen. Wilhelm II of Germany asked what 250k Swiss troops would do if he decided to invade with 500k German troops. The Swiss said, "Shoot twice and go home." Switzerland is actually neutral now, in part because they were such good fighters. Many European countries hired Swiss mercenaries to fight for them. At least, that's what I heard in a YouTube video. David Letterman, "I'm not as dumb as I look." Tina Fey, "How could you be?" I miss Tina Fey in movies. 18th century British radical politician John Wilkes was told in Parliament by a political opponent, "Sir, I do not know whether you will die on the gallows or of the pox." Wilkes shot back with, "That depends, my lord, on whether I embrace your lordship's principles or your mistress." Imagine hitting someone with such a... "If you weren't so stupid, what would you be?" asks the husband. The wife replies, without even skipping a beat, "Single." Haha, love it, nice one. I was the one insulted, but not the one with a comeback. I was out with a co-worker and her friends, and my buddy and I were leaving a little too early for her sensibilities. She jokingly got up in my face and said, "Smell that? Smells like pussy." A guy playing at the pool table next to us stepped forward and said, "I'm sorry, that must be me. I just ate." It was amazing. Smooth goddamn. Definitely a great comeback, but not to an insult, more to an annoyance. I was a camp counselor for a few years at a summer camp. One day my group took a hike to a large rock where we had lunch. My campers were between 8 and 10 years old. This one kid we'll call Jeff keeps poking another kid we'll call Matt in my group to look at this hole in the rock. It's so cool, it's like 6 inches deep, and the other kid is clearly getting annoyed just trying to eat his lunch. He keeps shoving sticks into the hole and trying to get everybody to look at it. Finally Matt just puts down his sandwich, looks at Jeff, and goes, "I'll be 6 inches deep in your mom later if you don't shut up." I was trying so hard to be stern with this kid for saying something so inappropriate, but I kept cracking up. It was just such a disproportionately ridiculous thing to say coming from a 9-year-old. To be fair, those are impressive numbers from a 9-year-old. My grandma got into a fight at the grocery store with a guy who told my 9-year-old brother to move the fuck out of the way. They were going at it and his final words were, "Suck my dick, bitch." She said across the store if I could find it, bitch. Edit, not Walmart. Even better, Aldi. Grammar don't play. Chelsea handler told Russell Brand, "The way you are looking at me makes me want to cover my vagina." He replied, "Mom, if I had a rubber glove, I'd do it for you." Crowd burst into laughter and she even acknowledged that was good. Chelsea handler was doing a difficult interview with Kevin Spacey, so she offered him a Vicodin. He answered, "Do you have any left?" My grandparents used to bicker. My grandmother generally came out on top, as she was fierier. One time though, she was asking him to do a bunch of stuff, and he muttered, "If you'd lose some weight, you could do it yourself." She fixed her gaze on him, and glowered. "I'm thinking of getting rid of about 200 pounds of useless fat immediately." He replied, "You're going to cut off your foot." Man, nobody bickers like old married couples bicker. They've had decades to perfect their craft. What are you looking at? I'm still trying to find out. When I used to say, "What are you looking at?" to my mum, she used to say, "I don't know, the label fell off." Saw a clip of a stand-up comedian the other day, and he says something along the lines of, "The first time I had sex it was terrible, the first time I had sex," and a woman chimes in with, "You mean yesterday?" Crowd laughs for a while, and while the comedian is waiting for them to calm down, you can see the gears turn in his head. Once it gets down to basically a few chuckles, he just says, "Glad you remember," and the crowd just lost their shit. It was amazing. Okay, now we need the source of this clip. A friend of mine was getting bitched at by these two identical twin girls in a class I had once. He replied with a troubling look on his face and said, "If you two are identical, how come only one of you are hot?" That dude played the long game as those two girls looked rather perplexed for the rest of the session. Fixed. I have something similar. Have a group text made up of 5 people. It's called 3 of my favorite people. I expected a better insult from someone of your upbringing and education. Lol, my mom was a librarian and pulled this one on a rude patron. Are you getting smart with me? Would you be able to tell? Glenn McGrath, Aussie cricketer, got frustrated with Ed O'Brandis as his every attempt to stump Brandis failed. This is what happened next. McGrath, "Why are you so fat?" Brandis, "Because every time I fuck your wife, she gives me a biscuit." I always liked Marsh v Botham. Marsh, "How's your wife and my 2 kids?" Botham replies, "The wife's fine, the kids are retarded though." On an Indian roast show, there were 2 bald twin brothers and the roaster told them, "You two confuse me on a biological level. You two look like testicles but you are both assholes." I am still waiting for an opportunity to use that. Reminds me of Rodney Dangerfield talking to the Bull twins in Easy Money. Why don't you two put your heads together and make an ass of yourselves? I've been called worse things by better people. For context, this was famously said by former Canadian Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau when he found out Richard Nixon called him an asshole. Not heard, but read. Easily the Spartans reply to Philippi of Macedon. As Philippi of Macedon was conquering Greek city-states left and right, Sparta was left alone. Philip had achieved a crushing victory, and Sparta was relatively weak and without walls. Philip sent a message to the Spartans saying, "If I invade Laconia you will be destroyed, never to rise again." The Spartans replied with one word, "If." This is actually where the word laconic came from. One of my co-workers was cold calling customers, trying to get appointments to drum up business. One of them told him to go fuck his hand, and he responded with, "I've got that penciled in for 3. I should be done by 4 if you'd like to come in for an appointment." Then the guy laughed his ass off, and ended up coming in for the appointment. LMAO at this wild ass telling random people to go fuck their own hand. I was bullshitting with a couple of buddies, and may have suggested that I banged one of their moms, to which said friend replied, "My mom's dead." My mouth bypassed my brain and replied, "That explains the dirt." Jesus dude, she was already dead. Bravo. This happened about 5 years ago now. There was this one annoying kid in my math class in high school. Being loud, ignoring the teacher. He was mixed race, only bringing this up because it's related. He's talking rather loudly with the guy next to him. Teacher tells him, "Shut the hell up, kid makes a point that he's half black and being mean to him is racist, some stupid shit like that. Teacher looks him dead in the eyes and says, I was talking to your white half. Stupid. Hands down my favorite teacher. You sure do talk a lot for never saying anything. Double quote. In Mexico, we use the word cantinflea for that. It comes from a comedian with a long career from the 30s to the 80s named Cantinflas, and that was his shtick. Talking too much but never saying anything. Me. We should learn from our mistakes. My friend, so that's why you have a younger sister? Dude bragging, I got a big dick. Friend, what happened? Someone break one off in your ass? Deleted. I am definitely using this one. My grandma asked my cousin, who'd had lots of partners and 2 kids at this point, if she was ever going to get married. Cousin, it's not the same nowadays. We don't buy cars without test driving them first. Grandma, yeah, but they don't let you put 100,000 miles on them either. Point goes to Granny. I have a bunch, but one of the more memorable ones was back in 8th grade. For context, I didn't make the basketball team 7th grade, but I made the team in 8th grade. This kid that was on the team the previous year but didn't make it currently was really upset and telling me how bad I am and blah blah blah. I told him that if he is better than me then why didn't he make the team? And he replied with, it's just cause of my grades bro. So I replied with, oh so you're just fucking stupid then? He gave up cause it was either accept that he was bad or accept he was an idiot. So the classic. You're adopted. At least my parents chose to have me. Had a friend growing up who had an adopted brother a year or so younger. They would always talk shit and fight a bit here and there, and one time my friend says to his brother that he was adopted and can go fuck off. He knew he was adopted, and without missing a beat he shot back at my friend, yeah well clearly you weren't enough for mom and dad. That's why they bought me. Yes, he used the word bought. Son, dad you don't know how to make a joke. Dad, I made you. Son, you motherfucker. Dad, yes. Come on, stop telling me how to live my life. I don't tell you how to live your life. It's not like I come down to the docks at night, knocking the sailors' cocks out of your mouth. Jimmy Carr puts down hecklers like a gentleman boss. In class someone used the S slur on someone and he replied with, I'm probably as straight as the pole your mom dances on. I can't remember the best one I've heard, but I can remember the best comeback I ever did. It is also, in fact, the only good comeback I ever did. I was in 7th grade, and we were in the locker room after gym. People were discussing shoe sizes because this one kid had enormous feet. I don't know if I have small feet, but mine were the smallest. They said, small feet, you know what that means. I didn't mind too much, but one kid crossed the line. He said, don't worry, fella, there's like 10 different ways to make it bigger. So I said, have you tried all 10? Not very impressive, but it shut him up. You peaked so early. Anything I've thought of more than an hour after the insult. The French have a phrase for this. Esprit d'escalier, or the spirit of the staircase. The witty retort you think of as you are leaving down the front steps. I work at a hotel. A few years ago this guest got into a spat with our security officer over something, but she wasn't getting whatever she wanted, so she told him he was full of S. Our security officer replied immediately, no I'm not, I took care of that this morning. But thank you for your concern for my good health and regularity. At this time I was about to bust up laughing, so I had to excuse myself to the back office, and as I was leaving I heard him continuing on with this lady, deadpan, but I promise I eat a healthy diet full of fiber. It warms my heart to know you're concerned with me having regular bowel movements. So the next time I'm constipated I know you're thinking of me. It continued on, and all the more he's playing this deadpan and it's making the lady madder and madder, and I'm in the back laughing so hard I'm nearly crying. After that spiel was over though, she didn't give us any more problems the rest of the night. I have also worked in a hotel. Sometimes you gotta just double down and out crazy the crazy. Yeah, no, those people who tell you to be yourself. Don't listen to them. He's come up with more creative insults, but this is the most memorable. How appropriate, you fight like a cow. Edit, thank you for the gold. I earned this scar in a mighty struggle.